Hi, everyone. Welcome to AtScale's live session. And today we have a special guest. It's Larry Clark. Hi, Larry. Larry is this distinguished software engineer for Tableau, a Tableau expert, been with Tableau for quite some time. So I'm really happy to have the chance to talk with you, Larry.
Morning, Dave. It's great to be here. It's always a lot of fun to talk to you, and these are always interesting conversations.
Yeah. Yeah, so Larry, we have a really cool session coming up, a tech talk. It's called "How to Deliver Self-Service BI Enterprise Scale," and it's going to be we're going to do that session May 19th. So May 19th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I encourage you guys all, the audience, to go and tune in because Larry and I are going to be wielding some really cool our respective tools show how Tableau and AtScale semantic layer works really well together. And we're going to do it on some New York City taxi cab data. So it's 280 million rows, so it's big enough that we can't fake it. And we'll do some live demos as well as just talk about some of the common topics that we both encounter with our customers.
Yep.
So please join us for that. So Larry, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, because you have a great background, a distinguished background when it comes to business intelligence and analytics.
Sure. It's not that interesting a story, but it's kind of fun. I've been here at Tableau for 3.5 years, so I got here before the Salesforce acquisition, and I'm part of the strategic solutions engineering team in the North America field sales organization. We're a small team of people with lots of gray in our hair. Prior to that, I was with a Microsoft partner where I was a practice lead and a billable consultant implementing Microsoft's business intelligence tools on top of Microsoft's analytics stack. And the reason I got to do that is because prior to that, I was with Microsoft for over 20 years, just shy of 23 years. A lot of my career at Microsoft was as a database and business intelligence technical specialist. So I joined Microsoft in Manhattan in the early 90s. I was a generalist SE, and then I kind of went to school for SQL Server. And that was right about the time a few of your people who haven't retired yet, who are listening to this, might remember when Microsoft and Sybase were partnering on a relational database. We were doing the Windows NT version of it, and they had the Unix version of it. We bought the NT code base and called it SQL Server 4.21. And I have Ron Sukup's book about inside SQL Server back there on my bookshelf. He signed it for me.
Wow.
And yeah, I followed the Microsoft SQL Server product as the surface area grew and grew and grew from just a relational database to an OLAP engine to a tabular engine, and then all the way through that. It was a great career with Microsoft, and it's been a lot of fun here at Tableau. Talking too long, but I fell in love with Tableau in the summer of 2018 when I downloaded it and went through the exercises. And as somebody who'd spent, a bunch of time with more developer-oriented tools, being able to just VizQL is just an amazing capability that Tableau is based on, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I get to have great conversations with customers, and I get to work with great partners like AtScale.
Yeah, I had the similar experience with Tableau. Also downloaded it, the 30-day trial, and what was really different about it was every other BI tool at the time, and I always use MicroStrategy as sort of the worst offender of this. It's like you had to have a training session. There's just no way you could just open it up, get busy, and actually produce something. And what shocked me about Tableau and what was so different is that I never looked at a manual, never read a stitch of documentation, never watched a video. I opened it up, connected to my data, and it was just intuitive. Double clicking, and it's going to put the right thing in the right shelf, and create the right and choose the right visualization for you. And that was really groundbreaking. And so I fell in love right away. with
Yep.
Tableau, earlier in my career as well. And I remember Panorama. Remember Panorama, and when
Yep.
Microsoft bought Panorama to get
Right.
into the OLAP business. I think that was in '96 or something like that.
Yeah,
If I
late '90s.
recall right.
The Nets brothers came over from there, and I think they're both there. I know Amir Nets is a technical fellow at Microsoft now. He runs the Power BI product group and a bunch of other stuff, but I'm not sure if his brother's still there. He probably is.
Yeah, Ariel, I think he
Genius.
still is, and yeah, Amir is great, and he's still driving business intelligence in the form of
Yeah,
Power
still
BI.
very passionate about it after 30 years plus.
But
You know,
what I remembered about that platform, and I used SQL Server analysis services at Yahoo, built a 24 terabyte cube, so
woof.
it was quite the size, but it was I fell in love with that interface. It was such a great implementation of multidimensional analysis
Mhm.
that we based AtScale semantic layer on that same interface. So that's how much I loved it. I think we
Yeah,
have
I did it right
Jonathan.
the first time.
I think Jonathan is in the waiting room. So Jonathan,
Oh, awesome.
welcome. Hey, welcome to AtScale's live session.
Good morning. Thank you.
Yeah, why don't you introduce yourself, Jonathan? Thanks for joining.
Absolutely. Jonathan Libby with Tableau. I work in an organization that works specifically with our technology partners to help ensure we have the right integrations and make sure we're doing the right things in the market with our customers to bring the best analytics experience we can. So we've been working closely with AtScale for several years now. Looking forward to hearing more and joining the conversation today.
Great. So yeah, Jonathan, I was just telling the audience about Larry and myself's session coming up on May 19th, 2 p.m. Eastern time, where we're going to be wrangling some very large data with Tableau and AtScale on the semantic layer side. So good to have you. So Larry, yeah, it's been quite the journey, and the journey never ends, of course, in software, right? We just keep
Right.
moving forward.
Yep.
So what are some of the exciting things that are exciting you about what's happening in the Tableau world when it comes to the product and the platform?
Yeah, continued progress, continued evolution of the product. Tableau is, I think, the reason for Tableau's success is a positive feedback loop that we've had going on for 15 years now, between what we talked about a few minutes ago, just the people falling in love. And the word love is not used with a lot of products these days, with a lot of software especially. People falling in love with Tableau. It's beauty, it's relative simplicity to get into in the first place, but then the sophistication underneath it, sort of the infinite canvas of data visualization that you can use. And if you go to Tableau Public and see some of the featured vizzes on Tableau Public, you can see just how high the bar is for, not how high the bar is, but how far you can go in building data visualizations in Tableau that are amazing. But you don't have to. I talk with customers all the time about encouraging knowledge workers, someone who might be considered an Excel power user when I was over at Microsoft, encouraging knowledge workers to gain just Excel business skills. I think sometimes Tableau overemphasizes the Zen master, the kinds of folks who compete in Iron Viz next week at Tableau conference, the kind of folks who might compete in an Iron Viz at a Tableau day in their organization, the kind of folks that might get something featured on Tableau Public. That's a data professional. That's someone who's, sometimes it's a hobbyist, but that's a professional. That's usually someone who's paid to build the optimal data visualization. Tableau business skills are a much lower bar. I do a lot of stuff with just drag and drop. Got
So
the row shelf, the column shelf, and the marks card. Once you understand those things, you're good to go as long as you've got a data source. And then I talk to customers about partnership between that set of knowledge workers and the IT shop, and building curated data sets, enabling real-time addition of data to those curated data sets, just overall knowledge support. Well, I guess we'll maybe talk about that a little bit later.
Well, actually, let's dive into that a little bit. So, and I've I totally agree with you on the spectrum of Tableau visualizations. I mean, anybody who picks it up can produce a good visualization. But if you know a little bit more, you can create like works of art, honestly.
Yep.
And when I use Tableau at Yahoo on top of SQL Server analysis services, I mean, the stuff that came back from my user community was just, it blew me away, because I never imagined that they could do what they did with data and analysis in such a, not just a beautiful way, but an effective way as well. And it just taught me as a data engineer that there was just no way that I could do what they did, because they knew the business. They understood the
Right.
business. And so they were in the best position to actually create amazing analytics to improve business outcomes. And all I could do is really give them access to a high performance platform that allowed them to do anything by anything, so that they could create those masterpieces. And that's really kind of where the idea for AtScale came, is like, look, let's just make the data easy to access for anyone, give them the great tools like a Tableau, and they could do the rest on their own. So let the domain experts, the subject matter experts, do what they do best, because they understand the data, and let IT and the technical people just prepare data products that they could consume. And I thought that was a really good sort of separation of powers, if you so to speak.
Yeah.
But what do you see in that, Larry, in terms of customers and the like? How do you see that relationship between the business and IT?
Yeah, I have conversations with customers pretty frequently, and if they're interested in my perspective, one thing I try to share is, or one thing I try to encourage them to do is occasionally open their scope from their focus on, data visualization, or on semantic layers, or on data storage, or moving their data warehouse to a cloud. Try to expand their scope, and once in a while look around and say, what are we doing to help decision support? This, our enterprise, our paycheck comes from not data, not visualization, not any of that stuff. It comes from decision support. That's what all of this is about, supporting better decisions. And when customers acknowledge that at an executive level, and pervade that principle all the way through, I think that's an incredible competitive advantage. And it's like compound interest. It's a continuous competitive advantage when you make better decisions on a routine basis, because you have self-service access to curated data habitually. Those kinds of good decisions build on each other, and build lasting competitive advantage over time. And the opposite is true. If you've got an ecosystem where it's difficult to get to data, where IT is extremely restrictive, more restrictive than they need to be based on regulations or such, and there are good reasons for IT to be that restricted, because they get yelled at a lot if things go wrong. But if there's a good relationship between those knowledge workers and the IT shop, and there's this ecosystem that's positive, the opposite is frankly sort of the dial tone, or the background noise of business. It's the default way of doing business, pulling data out of reports into Excel in order to struggle with making a decision in Excel in your work group. That's the base, right? An ecosystem that is built to most optimally support decision making can, like I said before, have that compound interest effect, and gain you competitive advantage.
Yeah,
so that's a principle that, without going in any technical depth, that to answer your question, that's a principle that I try to talk about with customers.
Yeah, and I think we'll hopefully dive into that with product and show how that works. But we call it a flywheel effect, and I talk about this a little bit when I talk about what we can do with the semantic layer. But if you are enabling more people to get more access quicker to usable information, it does compound on itself, because then they create decisions your data scientists create new predictions and new features, which creates more data, which then creates more opportunities for more decisions. And you start that flywheel spinning faster and faster with more decisions and more people making more decisions. So, that is the payoff if you do it right, for sure.
Yep. Without, I'm on your live session, but this is true. I've been a fan of AtScale for a long time because of the concept, because of this. All software, all computer science is about abstraction layers, right? If you design software, if you design a database system, if you it's about building abstraction layers on top of things to simplify concepts and provide functionality that's more capable, that's more usable. This AtScale provides this uber abstraction layer over data. It makes data problems go away, or at least it puts a rug over them that you can sweep things under. But it not only provides this federation, it provides a semantic layer, so you can, give a curated, the definition of semantic layer to your business. And then on top of all that, and those are two great, really enabling functionalities. And then on top of all that, you've got this great data acceleration capability that you can turn on, and you'll automatically aggregate things. It's a great technology. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, thank you. That's you talked about abstraction layers, and it is a developer's concept, right? Of a class and object-oriented programming. You have classes in your different sort of programming languages like Java and C++. The class in the semantic layer is really the data model, and then that data model is reusable, just like a class is reusable, and it can be inherited from, which allows you then to create other models derived from that without having to understand what's behind that base model, and not have to have so when you look at sort of, people talk about data mesh, hub and spoke style of decentralized analytics. There's a lot of talk these days about that.
Yep.
And I really like to think of that as like, without the right tools, you got to be able to have the guys in shipping understand shipping, and they can build their shipping models. The finance people can build their finance models. The merchandising teams can build their merchandising models. The marketing teams can build the marketing models. But sometimes you need to mash those up. So if you need to understand how your marketing spend is doing across your different products, you need to have the merchandising model and the marketing model connected. And so you can do those mashups when you have those abstraction layers. So I think it's really exciting when you do have that capability. And then you put on top of that, a easy to use visualization where anybody can get their work done, and not just done, but look good doing it.
Right.
Like Tableau, and you got something really amazing. But Larry, and Jonathan, you guys, either one of you can answer this, but I've been noticing that a lot of the focus for the new features, new capabilities in the Tableau platform have all been around augmented analytics. Can you talk a little bit about sort of, where you're going there and what the thinking is with that product development?
Sure. Yeah. Machine learning and artificial intelligence have been hot topics for well over a decade now, and they're being implemented. There are machine learning and AI teams in some of our large enterprise customers, but the best the best realization of AI and ML in software is when you don't perceive that it's there. And we're adding some of those capabilities. We have been adding some of those capabilities in Tableau, and we'll continue to do so. The first one to talk about is Ask Data, a natural language query capability that's built into Tableau that is now accessible to Tableau viewers as well as explorers and creators, where you just, people have used natural language query. I'm sure they use natural language query anytime they use a search engine. But to have natural language query that will actually build a database query for you and then automatically create a viz based on that you can alter that viz, and you can continue to have a conversation with the data, change a filter, add a dimension, those sorts of things. We're working on it. Ask Data 2.0, maybe 2.1 is out these days. Explain Data came from an acquisition a couple of years ago. It's in the product. It is a Bayesian engine, a Bayesian statistical engine that you don't need to know that, but if there's a mark on a viz that stands out to you, you're curious about why it is where it is, why that peak on the line, or why that mark that kind of is obviously an outlier in a scatter plot, why that is the way it is, or just a bubble that's bigger than the others on a map. You can hover over to click on it, and then there's a little light bulb. Click on the light bulb. Explain Data will run a bunch of statistical analysis, not just on the fields that are in that viz, but across the entire data set. And if there's any explanation, it'll explain it for you, both not verbally, both textually and visually. Let's see, what else we have.
Well, you do have a verbal explanation, like the storytelling feature is more verbal,
Yep.
Right?
We acquired Narrative Science, Quill. You know what? I don't remember if the company was called Quill or the company was called Narrative Science. I think it was called Narrative Science. Anyway, we have Narrative Science coming into Tableau native. So in addition to a viz, you can also have a paragraph of text next to that viz that dynamically narrates exactly what's going on, what trends there are, things like that. And we're rapidly innovating on that. In the next year and a half, couple of years, we've got a roadmap of innovation around data storytelling and automating that sort of thing. And then in the augmented analytics field, there's something that is in early preview today called Data Change Radar, which I love. It's the idea in Tableau Server that if there's a viz that you've favorited, or a viz that's in the top X ranking of popular vizzes on the site, a statistical engine will automatically keep track of the various metrics that are in that viz, and it'll run predictive algorithms on those metrics, and it'll remember what those predictions were, and if the metric leaves the bounds of those predictions, it'll tap you on the shoulder and say, "Hey, take a look at this." I love that capability. I love that we have the vision to put that kind of capability in Tableau Server, and just make it proactive. Make it a proactive assistant, so that you don't have to necessarily wake up in the morning and look at all your dashboards to make sure things are going the way you hope they will. Tableau will proactively let you know, hey, this metric's out of bounds. You might want to take a look at what's going on.
Yeah, I think, and I can't wait to see some of those. Those are all very cool features, and a couple of them came from an acquisition, right? And what I've noticed is that
Empirical.
You guys have done
Cambridge, Massachusetts.
You've done an amazing job of actually integrating those. In the olden days, they were always bolt-ons, and they all had their own sort of visualization feel, their own UI, UXs, and it was just like an additional SKU that the salespeople could sell. That's not how it is. When you integrate seamlessly, and it's just it's not a bolt-on to the product. It becomes part of the product as a feature in the product. You guys have done an amazing job at that. We actually have a couple questions, or a question from our listeners here, and Sathi is asking. Oftentimes, customers want to debug a symptom by going further to a back-end source, which is often a very large data set. And scaling for very large data sets and specific poses extra responsibility to the analytics teams to create the boundaries for how much that cost can be incurred for those asks. So, what are your thoughts on this mix of need for analysis? I mean, I can answer first that you do want to thank you for that question. It's a great one. You do want to allow people to explore and go as deep as they need to. And one of the things that we do on the semantic layer for AtScale is that we are always learning and tuning and creating those aggregates and making those queries fast. So you're only going to do a query against raw data really once, because AtScale will understand. And then the next time you ask that query, it's gonna hit a much more optimized version of that data. We encourage people to explore and not have to worry about costs, because with AtScale on top of your data platform, we can save you up to 16 times, reduce the cost by up to 16 times, depending on your data platform, by using this optimization technique. So explore away is what I always say.
Yeah, technologies like companies like Snowflake are designed to they separate. Well, many companies do this these days, but they separate storage from compute. And the storage is the storage. It's very fast, but it's just kind of sitting there. And the compute in Snowflake's instance fires up when you run a query. And the taxi meter starts. If I have this right, they charge you for the first minute after it starts, and then every second thereafter for the compute. And so yeah, you pay for exactly how much you use. The more you use, the more you pay. They're extremely powerful, extremely fast. They are they're among the leaders in the sort of new cloud data warehouse world. But that's how it works. And yeah, if you've got very large data and you're exploring that very large data, then having AtScale in between you and Snowflake, pre-aggregating those things, and the second time you ask one of those questions of the data, you're not hitting Snowflake anymore. That's incredibly valuable.
Yeah, you'll hit Snowflake, but a much smaller table in Snowflake.
Right. Yep.
So what we have, I think we have time, Larry and Jonathan, for really one more question. And this comes from Ramdas, and Ramdas is saying, context-based metadata and more real-time data drift capabilities is the need of the hour. It's not really a question, more of a statement. And I think that your new feature that you talked about, what was it called? Data change radar, Larry, is that what you called it? Is really should help here. And for the audience on the AtScale side, with our integration of the data scientist persona, the data scientists can now create new features and new predictions and write those back to the semantic layer, which then allows the business as well as the data scientist to compare historical analysis to their predicted analysis, to do that drift analysis all in one place seamlessly. So there's no longer this sneaker net problem of, okay, I ran my machine learning model, I produced a file. Now how do I compare it to my historical analysis? That's all just seamless, and they show up as two different metrics or measures in your semantic layer. So we can really help there.
This is just a thought that question created, and I don't know if it's even valid, but Tableau a couple of years ago came out with Tableau Catalog, and the great thing, in my opinion, that the product group did when they built catalogs, they started with the API. So there's an API for Tableau Catalog to write metadata into Tableau Catalog, and also to query data out of Tableau Catalog. We've got it's part of our data management, or part of our enterprise SKU. And Tableau Catalog contains all of the metadata in the Tableau ecosystem, and then whatever else you put in there. I wonder, and Jonathan, I don't know if you've been working with Dave and the AtScale team on this, but it'd be kind of cool to build a daemon, an engine that sits there and collects metrics, collects semantic layer artifacts from AtScale and shoves them into the Tableau Catalog, so that people who are using Catalog become aware of them proactively. Just a thought, might be kind of cool. You should get to work on it.
Yeah, it's funny you said that, Larry. So we just
it's a great recommendation.
Go ahead, Jonathan. Go ahead, Jonathan. I cut you off. Okay.
I was just going to say it's a great recommendation. We've been having some Can you guys hear me all right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You're pixelating a little bit.
Great. Okay. It's a good recommendation, Larry, and the timing is good. We've been having some fairly deep conversations with AtScale and our product management team about kind of, I'll say, up-leveling the the connector, and this is a great opportunity to look at ways to integrate in this way as well.
Yeah, we just released with our this quarter's release, our 2022.1 release, our APIs for data catalog integration. So we now have the capabilities of doing what you said, Larry, and connecting that all up,
Sweet.
and being very data catalog friendly. So that's it's an exciting opportunity that we can work together on. And you guys, audience, you heard it here first. We're doing
Like real-time roadmap disclosure. This was just an idea. I'm sorry if I
on a podcast.
spoke out of turn.
We are making product level decisions, but so I'm encouraging guys, just please, thanks for joining us today and hearing us talk about what we're going to be showing you live in a few days here. So with that, Larry and Jonathan, thanks so much for joining us, and looking forward to getting together and doing our tech talk and showing off our wares.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks a lot. It's always fun.
Take care, everyone.
Have a good day.